what the IG came out to say. When the IG came out to talk, he left Kenyans with more questions than answers. First things first is, how is it that somebody who's alone, one person, could hold this operation for 18 hours? From your perspective, what do you read from this?
Betty, that attack was not happenstance. It was deliberate. And we're talking about people who actually did surveillance on the DP's home. They knew the layout of the property. And when they came, when this lone attacker came, he knew exactly where to hold up. And when a person is in a defensive position, he can't be alone. You can have a battalion. But if he is in a defensive position, getting that person out is actually very difficult. So I believe this is a person who knew exactly what he wanted and where to go and when. But
let's also talk about, the kind of weapon that he had. Now maybe it's emerging that, he was able to get hold of a gun, but he entered the compound with a machete. From your perspective, I mean, how is that? And also looking at the gate of the entrance to the DP's home, you mean it's guarded by just one person? Because that's what the IG was, the Inspector General of Police was having trouble explaining to journalists.
Betty, however trained you are, there's that element of surprise. And I think this attacker used that very well. And he knew exactly what he wanted. And that's why I said this is something that was planned. And there's always the human element. And this is why we say whenever we are planning security of a site, we need to have integrated solutions. Because all these systems have their limitations. For example, we are talking about human beings. There's that element of laxity. You are used to doing these things every other day. And in security, we say routine is a threat to security. So I think these officers were used to doing the same things every other day. They knew the DP was not in, so they put down their guard. And this is why this person took advantage of that and actually managed to kill one officer and then got the gun and went and barricaded himself inside the building. So I think we are looking at a situation whereby we must talk about laxity. From my knowledge is that a home like the DP's, the way it is not guarded by less than a section. A section is 9 officers, and they are in charge. That makes it 10 at any one given moment. So where were these other officers when the assailant got in and started firing? So I think something did not, somebody somewhere failed. And this is what now the IG needs to concentrate on. Let him carry out investigations and find out where the laxity came from. And we cannot look at this as an isolated incident. At least this one, a gun was used. But we've had people also, people getting into State House. Yes. We've had several cases where people have breached the security of State House and found themselves inside there. The other day, somebody was killed at State House, Nairobi. We had that. So I think we need to check the whole system of security guarding our VIPs, especially the president and the deputy. I would hate to imagine what would have happened if the DP was in.
Does it mean that this man had experience? Because a background check, informed Kenyans that he was actually a hawker. That's who he was, in the town. Does it mean that he had experience, or was it the fact that he was able to know the rural homes so well, such that he knew where the other weapons were?
I think it's unfortunate that we've heard it from the DP trying to politicalize the whole issue. This will derail the investigations. Because who is this person? We know that we are under threat of terror. And we know that we have sleeper cells in this country. Could this person be one of those sleeper cells we're talking about? Yeah? So when we start saying that this is political, we are now diverting the attention of the investigators into doing short investigations and saying, okay, even the DP himself said this is political. Who is this person who had the skills to disarm a GSU officer? This is not any other policeman, but these are specially trained people from the G company. They are trained on physical security. So this is a person who gets in, disarms a GSU officer, and then uses that firearm effectively.
All right. So from your assessment, this is somebody who had experience?
This is a trained person. Not any other person can attempt that. You cannot tell me a hawker that all these hawkers we meet on the streets, one can attempt to go to the residence of the DP
with a machete,
knowing very well that we have GSU officers there who are properly armed and properly trained, and then breach the security, get in and stay put for 18 hours. It's not any other person, Betty.
All right.
This is a properly trained person, well informed, who did his homework very well. He went out, got the information he wanted, planned this attack, and then carried it out.
All right.
And very effectively.
George, what do you think could have been the motive of this attack?
We should not speculate, because so far, you see the DP saying this is political.
Yes.
But from my observation, this is something that we need to investigate further. Let us know what kind of person we are talking about here. And then I think if this is properly done without bringing in a lot of politics and whatever, we will finally know what was the motive. Because the only person who knows the motive is already dead. So we can't actually put a finger and say this might have been the motive.
All right. Let's also talk about the dissemination of information, George, because I'll even take it back to the Westgate attack, whereby the public does not really know what's happening, and the person who comes out to give the information is not really clear. Probably even leaves people with more questions than answers as to what really happened. Going back to this attack in the DP's house, the IG, when he came out to give the public a statement, he also seemed that he was also not sure of what exactly had happened, and he's asking the public, the journalists, we also need more information so that we can be able to give you this information. He also admitted that it was some sort of laxity on his end. Actually, he said we're human beings, and let me now say this right now, maybe it was an oversight on us. What do you think of that kind of information, or how should information, when in these instances, be disseminated to the public?
I think what happens here is that there's that embarrassment in the whole system. Because
it's embarrassment.
Yeah, it is a serious embarrassment, because there was a serious breach at the DP's place. And I think what the IG did not want to say is that, yes, we accept responsibility, there was laxity, and somebody has to fall on his sword, because it doesn't happen every other day. And you see the kind of information that we are being given is not actually making things any easy for us. Because right now we do not understand if the DP's place can be breached, who is safe? And I think this is one thing that the IG is trying to acknowledge and saying clearly, yes, there was failure. Personally, I've worked in that system, and I know how things are supposed to happen. Apart from the G company people, we have people we call the presidential escort team that are assigned to the president and the deputy. We have members of the intelligence also assigned to the deputy and the president. And these things, whenever you are on site, you need to know the environment. This hawker must have been going there for several times. Yes. So that he could gain information. And it seems he was being allowed access into the compound. Otherwise, how did he know the layout of the compound? Yeah? So there was failure, systematic failure, Betty, from the fixed site security team to the intelligence team and even to the protective team of the deputy president. All right. And this is one thing that the IG does not want to acknowledge publicly. But I know somebody will take responsibility for this. All right.
George, as we wind up, we're in a political season, and you said also that the DP has come out to, sort of like politicize this attack. But how can the public discern? Because, now, critics are coming out and saying, okay, if the DP's house can be attacked, what about me as a Kenyan who, doesn't have any sort of security with me all the time? So how can Kenyans really discern from an attack with motive and one that, probably, has some political, end to it?
I think it's unfortunate that this attack came in as we are heading 1 week to the elections. And this is why now you see people are seeing a lot of politics in it. But if it was at any other time, I believe sober investigations could have been done. Okay. And then the public told exactly what happened. Who is this person? And what was the motive? Right now, it's very difficult for us. Remember, even when we had an attack in Peketoni, the first thing that happened is that the statements that came out, we were told that this was political. Yes. And it delayed the whole investigations until the attackers came out now with a propaganda video. This is when now people realized, no, this was not actually political, but it was the work of Al-Shabaab. Okay. And I'm looking at the same scenario here. We should not jump the gun, coming out very quickly and giving statements without proper investigations. And I agree with the IG that the police should be given time, let them do the investigations. But the problem with Kenya is that even after the investigations, we will actually never be told what happened. What happened? Yeah, I think we've seen this happening several times. The Garissa University story, we never knew what actually happened. Westgate, we were told investigations will be carried out, nothing. Now we are in this incident, and I know things will just go quiet because somebody somewhere failed, and as Kenyans, the deputy president is not just any other person. Okay. This is the second in command of the armed forces. Yeah, so we should take this seriously, and we should demand questions. No, we should ask questions and get answers. Let's not just allow this to pass, because next time you never know what will happen.
All right. Thank you very much, George Musamali, for your time and your interesting insights there. All right. So we want to take a break right now here on the show. We'll be coming back to continue with our coverage. Remember, we also have Zinzi Kibik, who's going to be talking to us about what really are the conversations that are going on online. So that's coming up in a few minutes. Don't go away.